Hi guys, tonight I would like to read one of my first books that I had wrote. I called it Talking Poetry because I put a lot of my art into this book and a poem for each piece of artwork. It was at a time when I didn't think that anybody understood me, didn't really awaken at that point, and kind of wrote a lot of thoughts down as a chapter of my life. It's called The Parallels of Magic and Paradigm of Gods. It's through Author House Publishing. And I'll read you the preface. This little collection of mysteries was written to inspire and create underlying meanings within the reader. It defines a bit of every aspect of life as one person sees it. It is a witness that philosophy is something that one inherently teaches themselves through experience. It outlines emotion in our everyday senses. It's intended to cast not a shadow of doubt to some subjects, but to awaken the awareness levels we all have and seem to tune up or down at times. It's a tool to be open-minded. It's neither dark nor light, but seeks to define just what these concepts are and what the medium is between the spectrum. It's truth and lies, self-deception and self-renewing. Can be delusional and clear, seasonal, but brings the heart nearer and nearer to at least one truth we all seem to hope will reveal itself when paper is the only thing that listens the best. So, maybe some of you Starseeds have had experiences like this, and you felt like poetry was the only way to express things, or if you've had encounters with Illuminati or dark beings. A lot of this was written at those periods in my youth. First poem is called Virtual Reality. In a dream, I swam across an ocean, but to the beauty I couldn't draw near. A black hole surrounded me as I saw faces and called them near. Ancient ones were speaking to me and holding up a mirror. I took in the width, the depth, the height, explored the mysteries of this body using only sight. I understood the capacity of infinity's flight and fight. I came to a book filled with intelligent lies, underneath an hourglass for time to surmise. I was speaking in a mire, getting smaller and smaller. Felt myself shackled and couldn't break free. Felt blind, mute, and helpless, arms seeming to transpose themselves into a tree. I found the key to unlock the shackles, a key people toss down to the bottom of this pit often, that grew for years as a part of me. And then I found it one day. I felt the warming of light melting my icy pit away, and stone exterior within me that kept the light at bay. I knew then how a human feels in the arms of nature, how we are so inferior as a creature of today. I swam up to the surface, taking a breath out of this womb, and looked up at the sun, greeting the keeper of the waters. I was a sacrifice easily mistaken for food, so I dove back down into the stole until its war was won. I believe Clive Barker wrote a book called Galilee with a character named Jerusha in it too, who was a sacrifice, or a water god had sacrificed himself for her on a shoreline. This next poem is called Day One. Mother's face is calming, like a cryptic lullaby. Father's voice a warning, you can blow off with a sigh. Childhood is ending, before it even begins. Disease can hit the system, and in it your cells can spin. Polarity shifts the consciousness. Vipers appear where you walk. Demons put a fork in your tongue and mask your face when you talk. My mouth waters for you to choke on them. Silence is golden. Suffocation in your infancy, spiritual crib death can await an old man's side, when something as simple as karma within himself collides. In a world of common hierarchy, life is death's companion. One handshake for another. Openings are endless. Closures leave the scars. The birth canal is as frightening as the universe is to the stars. Monsters and gods, mayhem and madness. Creature comfort, serenity. Do we really measure magnitude, or is it just minimizing us? And I think that's a poem for when you feel very small or out of place when you're born into this world, and how you can see and feel the heaviness of karma when you first go into your human body, and how that can feel tangibly. Earthly pleasures, tangible beings, makes the fallen ones jealous, of course, so they try to throw us off, while we can just as easily shake off the goodness that tries to reach us like a cough. Flesh and blood is only dreaming. Why can't one wake when one is screaming? Existence is crucial. Life is superficial. Male and female equal the ensign of creation. Silence is the password, in the whispering of the woods. or the incessant hum in the air between spaces and words, in the reality that matter paces itself between, always between a rock and a hard place. And I think that poem is mainly about the struggles that the physical body can entail and feel the need to express itself through in this beginning of our lives. Mirror, mirror, break the picture, shadow reflection, broken pieces of the still same element. Cut yourself off from the core, nerve centers, roots, the infamous roar, the inside screams, streamlines, while the outside means well, but has a hard time expressing the rest. Lingering stories, detached from stable ground, our communication enables us to manipulate our sound. Words are just metaphors. Nutshell. Angst and rebellion form an identity. Like anything has the capability of taking on a life of its own. The reality of one's suffering, the insane conditioning you've been shown, live in a facade the self has clearly grown into. When you stand alone on the edge of the abyss, no savior, no cross, only yourself to hold on to. The only thing in the void is a tasteless flavor, suspended animation, neutral condensation, a chessboard player the gods love to move around, a puppet, a ragdoll, a warrior at times, on an Enochian chessboard, a lethal compound, youth trapped in a tornado behind its enemy lines. Magenta. People's intentions fueled by hypocrisy. Man's motivation mimics the animal, gone wrong with the motor mouth, for instinct. Survival, a necessity, each to their own. If only man could find his heart, then he'd have a home. A rainbow of magenta drips the blood off man's throne. Rumors of wars are always circulating on all our cross-like venues. We walk in circles. Can't feel outside the barrier, or know the direction, because then we'd have to make a distinction. Strife, the addiction. What a callous infliction. We infect each other with daily, a lethal injection. Promises that don't mean shit. Purging, binging, a rusty syringe, scraping my skin with claws of the djinn, revealing the faces, wishing they weren't real. But like most problems, we're self-created. Two dark angels hold each other and wait for dusk to come. They perch themselves in union and watch as humanity is rained upon with the sting of acid magenta, because the heart's tried color was bled out of man a long time ago. Graphite. Love is like a thorn that eats away at your side. The graphite multiplies and makes some blind. How can one be such a vulture when your mouth seems so kind? How can I spread my wings open when you keep me so confined? The puppeteer is working and pulling on our strings. The mimes are all manic because of what rain brings. This parade is endless, priceless to those elite few. This mythology's painful until you can see a different view. Graphite lights the fire within, and out of babe's mouth spew purity or sin. Baptism is a current that runs through us and stays if we choose. Resurrection can be granted if we win or if we lose, or receive the indwelling, the anointing. Clandestine movements hover in our shadow dance, telling us secrets of our past. We jump over the eluding forms because they represent our own indomitable nature. We overcome. We taint our souls with graphite, trying to write our mistakes away, like pencil lead. Your plastic turns to decay. Your facade is slowly being ripped away. You're hanging on the last thread. All your acts in life keep you alive or dead. What's done is done. What's said is said. Your concrete is quicksand, so unstable and yet devouring. The light at the end of the tunnel could look pretty nice, or it could be a shard of ice, piercing your heart in the end, freezing your soul when you try to mend and defend who you are. Your dissension, the apprehension of my innocence again. Judgment, the double-edged sword. Mediocrity makes me bored. The lines, the stems, the roots, the cord. The damage we do we cannot afford. I will rise out of the ashes like a phoenix in the sun. I will meet my maker in my mentality, even if it's a loaded gun, because I've already tasted the tears a bullet makes, and frailty like repercussions makes the ground we walk on quake. The beginning of the end. Pupil. My eyes will grow brighter and sparkle when the tears stop transposing themselves across an unyielding, involuntary pout. Identity can be splintered, paper cuts to the soul. The seed inside the core lies dormant. Years of internalization, denial loves to condone. I've dug into the transformation, looking for myself, inside of a human. Personas on a shelf, palms itching for stigmata. Extremism yells, show me the rest, or is everything just vainglory? This one, I believe, is about Mother Earth and Gaia. Gorgon. Penetrating gaze of the androgynous creature opens the fear of the maze. Your thoughts can freeze when the Gorgon comes out. Life is immobile until she casts out the doubt. Her admirers knew her secrets and what certain powers are about. Majestic images arise from tentacles. Archaic scenes make the weary strong. A reptilian brain speaks to the center, a center of otherworldliness. Elongated fingers stretch through the heavens, grasping for comfort, yet finding dead air. May angels' kisses and heaven's wishes keep you safe now. In loneliness and hurt, the Gorgon comes out. The tribulation of a woman's soul is her pedestal, and existing as that cause makes her feel whole. A Salent. Decade after decade, they drop the medieval blade. Another culture is killed, another witch hunt fulfilled. Indifference is evil. What's unknown is bad. The sands of time fills up with foreclosures and alibis. Our fingers slip through our own lives and don't feel any guilt. Happiness is fleeting when healing never comes. Heartache ascending, the legacy undone. The mothballs choke the healthy because they can see through timeless lies. The webs of each other's treachery can always be broken just as easily. So who's avenged when the assailant never steps up? Who can admit their humility when the martyr tips over their cup? That one is kind of like the Wizard of Oz. You get to the end of the yellow brick road and meet the man behind the curtain. Realism. In a whisper, a reflection, the earth or the air, when you are real, is it then you start to care? When people disappoint you, does their purpose disappear? When the blindfold is tightening, who do we trust to steer us into calmness or calamity? My thoughts tend to take the form of teardrops, although I feel as if I'm tasting someone else's. The bitterness and bliss and emotion is always felt somewhere, at some point in time, by something, even if you don't ever come to terms with it. Nothing is imprisoned in a vacuum, forgotten externally. Everything keeps writing itself to the next degree. The only real things are the predecessors, us animate beings too. The constructions that we make with our minds are nothing more than a mirage where our egos drank. Realism is a child's rhyme, and everything that's natural that child wants to climb. Realism isn't a straight line, but supernal want. What I hear in the Earth Sonnet is that if we move the game pieces around, maybe God would have a place to sit upon it. Who? H-U. We're in this life more than skin deep. Can our human ears actually hear wailing and gnashing of teeth? A light in the darkness, codependent on sensitivity. You can't always turn it off or on. Watch out for the mammoth butterflies when the crossroads are burning beneath you, making your feet swell. I think that may be the field of the Merkaba. Distend signs and signals when two people meet. An angel is usually there to see my wings embrace your dawn. When your mouth is given a wafer, make sure it doesn't yawn. Spikes in my head, thorns in my side. The abyss devours my unreachable and holds speech hostage for a ride through safe passage. Into the garden, I impose in on myself to save my own ass. I'm a lingering reflection in the looking glass, but who knows when someone is looking back or not. I think that one had also to do with archetypal images and their reflections and what you see within yourself when you start to awaken. This next one's called Masses. Cowboys and Indians, round and round we go. Your stakes are high in this game, but to win you have to know a little more. That's something you lack, as if you were born with a heart attack. You think you can still defy when a god looks you in the eyes. Your mind is your affliction, dishonor your attrition. You're dying on the vine. Wake up, sunshine. I fell for you, I fear you. Can't you stop your madness when it's eaten up your insides? Don't fall into the masses, because an empty vessel walks by me when I encounter you. The Goyim, the Gentiles, the Jews might know something we don't. But until I can keep you from being eaten by the vices of this world, our trial and error is over. The clown and me you slew. The hurdles are knocked down and hoops of fire are all burnt up. We can't stretch each other out anymore because we already made each other so corrupt. So travel with the big dogs, trying to renew yourself and fight the odds, but defiance was never your best virtue. That one was mainly about relationships and money and how that all can accumulate into this big mass and reflect worldliness. Us. You can mold it, shape it, beat it, throw it away. You can hold it, care for it, admire it another day. In fight or fight, flight and mechanics, you can cut it, fight it, try to destroy it, run away. Everyone always seems to find a different way. You can starve it, suffocate it, let it choke. You can look it in the face, pretend it's a joke. You can run with it, play with it, get into trouble, put it to bed, leave it outside in a puddle. You can switch it when it gets hurt, clean the wounds out and the dirt. Nurture it, be true to it, abuse it in every way, but everyone's it is always searching for its soul, and with the way we treat ourselves, the body's sure to show. Everyone's self that they don't understand can be more precious than a comforting hand. Everyone's its are locked deep inside their eyes, the sole reflection of a greeting and a goodbye, due to retreat. When an it looks out, another it can look in, and we crave this reflection in a world that's so dim. And I think that it could be defined as that spark of consciousness that lies within each one of us that we can't seem to define sometimes or know where it began or where it ends, or if we have people that have atheistic views, they try to suppress that and hide it. But it always comes back to question them because it's their unconscious and their own consciousness. This next one's called Lion. It's about kind of about Mother Earth too, and how she suffered so dearly. And the drawing I incorporated with this poem is called The Geist of Bloodshed. If I could walk throughout my veins, I'd meet the center where it all drains. If I could taste the blood that flows, I'd see the horror silence knows. If I could hear the mystery of life, speak grandeur, wise and ripe, if I could map the corridors of my mind, I'd open the door to the infinite find, where light can enter and soul can shine, brighter than a lion's pride, basking in sunshine, quickened with wisdom's consuming air and shedding the weight of stardust from my hair. Blackout. Institutionalization breaks down the will, constructionalized with many vacuums to fill. Through a wormhole lies a still-beating heart, the unborn self starts. The courage to be is stifled in others. People project society, while their faces turn within the order. Is my personality projecting, or is it merely just a border? I take my life to every degree until I find that level that sets me free. Everything else the equation of a sum totality, chaos and order, strung out on the plains. Our histories repeating our minds, the great recorder. Do we always have to start over? Cocoon. I thought I was supposed to emerge out of this chrysalis and not feel like a beast. I've let myself become a playground for other creatures to feast upon. This hollowed ground, haloed, revolves and resolves a sinister merry-go-round, cheaply constructed with falsified ties, playing to the tune of my harmonious sighs. Sometimes the pendulum swings a little fast for me to catch a hold of it, Sometimes the clock is way too old and wise for me to con. I watch the chrysalis, a component of time. This grandfather clock, though, is a little behind. Yet somehow, someway, I keep feeding it a dime, hoping it will show me something different each time. Its face. Revolving around time travel. This dementia is ending. Closure comes soon as I can reach it to lick my own wounds. Through time's cracks. Cluster. I used to have a headache that wouldn't go away, a humming and an aching, that there was so much more to fillet and say. My attention span and mind sometimes gets warped along the way. You can create something out of nothing because nothing is where we began. We condescended reason and now beg for it with a tin can. You can frame your thoughts if you'd like to, end up hanging yourself upon a wall, a hook that wails. It might have seemed a safety net, but false pride can kill us all. We shouldn't bask in false recognition just to make ourselves feel a little taller. Your true self can fight to take over while the other ones roll over and play dead. If I could make the cure known, then I wouldn't feel at times. Reprimand. We all have an internal dialogue for what is right and wrong. Rules are constantly being made and someone strikes the gong. Becoming hypervigilant, on special reserve, swallowing paranoia for the poison to curve down my throat and away from my heart, because it's waiting to wreak havoc on the rest of myself. If I swallow the splinters, will the medicine go down smoother, or if I let it explode, would I be considered a loser? I can't cut any deeper than what I already have, and if I did, would that make me mad? Creep. Sometimes I pinch myself to know I'm still alive. The shadows are always following me, the listless and the blind. Monsters do kabuki theater in the dark, and the breaker and maker of love always leaves his mark of creation or destruction. Time keeps being stolen from me. I'm too young to grow old. Burdens pile up like dusty books on the shelf, cobwebs between the synapses, collapses. All these tasks at hand, multidimensionalities. Some of what's captive is let go of, finally. My secrets will one day know yours, even if you try to hide them. I wish I could sum it up in just one song, or someone could have felt it all along. The end of life unfolds and meets the red carpet that rolls. It's where we all meet and take on new shapes. Until then, we'll all just live in boxes and close the drapes and pretend we're safe in the dark. We float around in a snow globe, hands outstretched, feeling the crack of Eve's rib. What's not touched by unholiness is far and few between. The roots remember why we're here and how to be serene. Like an avatar. I try climbing back up the tree, but angels block its entrances, where X-shaped lightning bolts mark the spot. Until then, we all rotate together and are all capable of falling off this earth at any time. Undeclared. I need to declare the essence, between me and you, and what makes you pretend to be so shrewd. The way that comes when you give yourself a moment of silence. You've spent your whole life running with your demons, and now you try desperately to run away from them, setting yourself up again to fail. Exchanging madness for reason, something to calm the nerves. Even stability can be full of holes if you don't have a grasp on it. If things aren't picture perfect, the wall can crash down on you. If things aren't fitting properly, there's always something you can do. You can rock yourself back and forth every time you think you've failed, yet it would be my life's obsession just to say I cared. Faith is reassuring when security isn't there, and don't stick your hands into black holes just because they're rare, or there. But keep climbing that mountain even though it may not seem it's there. Don't try so hard that you forget to breathe, and rest your head on stone as a mental sieve. Lovers' blinds can do strange things, full of opposition, with fragile seams. Something holds my gravity each time I lose my place. Something understands my ways when I kick more rocks off into space, and keep throwing chaos off the mountaintop. Tachyons and time-space mountains. Coventry. Solitude. Sisterhood. I'm reaching for the wrath of God, punishing myself with the holy rod, the rod that is a serpent, that gets into your bloodstream, the halo that's a mental cage, confining all your rage. What is and was and shall be a means to an end. Every day my shadow lengthens and touches the abyss. I've eaten the fruit on top of the tree of wisdom, and it poisoned me with pain. It never told me never to touch it again, or I'd lose my earthly grain. Temptations are subliminal, dimensions everywhere, a spiral vortex encircling you, more aware of where you are then. A master controls every situation, a student's on a ride to a train station. Once you're in a trapdoor, you have to find the way out, otherwise only the cliff-offs will hear you scream and shout. We can travel like a wizard as long as we don't let go of ourselves. Fragile temples, rooted in time below. Greater beings sound their horns, only spiritual ears can hear. Lesser beings love to feed off our fear. The dark side of the moon is its portal. When we recognize it, we know that we're mortal and feel normal. But yet punishing each other with images of God and cloning ourselves is that. When we can't just open our third eye, but choose to see and sense like a rat, perhaps. The Illusion of Maya. Sacrament. I pray to the Father to let me see the mother's face, to give me the child that was buried in my space. A spiritual autopsy could answer the reasons why I die and am reborn again. I try to find shelter, but I'm never alone. My graffiti and disorder are cluttering my home. I'm washing the stains out of my robe, engraving wisdom on my forehead, and hope. Maybe I strung you out like a rubber band, but then maybe that's all you're made of, if you'd wipe the sand and grain from your eyes. Two people in love have the power to make the sun shed a tear without burning itself too bad. It's a struggle shaking the weight of the world off our shoulders and putting our feelings in holders, grabbed for convenience. The homes we make transitional. I need a curve to the deviation of always throwing a wrench in the works. Is not having anything freedom from bondage or devastation, spiritual impoverishment, or spiritual gratification? The value of $1 means of survival, to get from point to point and still have dignity. Of our own differences are judged and weighed by many bags. Judgment can come as a fire that burns a spirit, no matter what kingdom you're in. The Buddha can always walk a mile in someone's moccasins. Money is only a tool that can never replace the actual energy we give and take, a gift or a vice or a minimal price. It can be a facade replacing your God. It likes to disguise human virtue for plastic transactions. It holds people captive, almost promising them salvation. Eulogy. Orchestrations resound in my cells, resonating like distant bells, coping with discords drawn me to destroy my own soul's harmony and forget what the circle is about. I don't want to miss a beat or an interval in the rhapsody of my soul's transmissions. I'm stuck in an astral game of poker, the devil holding me by my words, waiting for me to move. Wisdom prevails. Whole is my assault. It sails right past him and falls over to the league of infamy. There seems to be a mist that lingers above this white blanket of absence. In the middle of winter, the ensign of creation lays itself down for the lion and lamb to put on and take down their immortal crown. I was a black sheep, you were a lamb. We looked at each other, eyes crossed in recognition of what was damned. An altar cries for humility's face. In the temple were all colors, godlike shapes and promised infinity. Unknown. Mimicry. We've crossed paths, our mouths watered to know each other again. So many people between us, degrees of separation. Anxiety attacks the core, paralyzing a soul's door. Fear like venom, fire within, fueled by the ingenious pathways of nature. Our species cries out for an anecdote. Baby birds, mouths wide open. Where are the parents? What are we supposed to gain for the enduring shiny life token? Because when the world cashes its chips in, there will be those who still hold out. Time is on our side. Will we come running back for more? Back home? There's something caught in the middle, though, that makes the sands run rugged. Paradise. My universe is caving. My black hole is set free, entropy glorified. My motives move the mass in such a hurry, twilight is upon us. My hungry heart gurgles, digesting things a process. A curse only our own insides know. My other half is missing, unattached, shadow self relapsing. My soul carries it in a cast, on a level of no other. Yet I'm not alone. The abyss is finally taking its shadow self with it. I can't find home. My thoughts are undisciplined. My soul it roams. The center is the mentor. Even though, when touched, it creaks and moans, like an old bookshelf waiting to cave in upon itself. Fall. Living in a pop can. Lonely soul to be, searching, looking for the other half of me. These waters are so ominous, they careen for me to fall, so they can indulge in the last breath and make their waves seem mighty and tall. It doesn't help when you think you're drowning and someone gives you a flotation device that's not real, or a crutch you don't want to use. You alone are just a metaphor in life's analogy, with God in freeze frame. Life will feel the chill. Does heaven's hand pull my ship or push it farther away? My guardian at my side, my compass, my heart can stop dodging darts soon. When the senses are attuned, you can only feel so much without feeling like going mad. Our cups are half empty, overflowing within a magnetized pool of surrealism. The praying mantis is underneath us when we walk, but our energy is indispensable and hard to block. Vices. Fate can't pull me in. It's left behind, sitting and spinning, the record of deceit, the record of defeat, the voice box of illusion that you confuse with your own contusion. Contingency and conclusion as wisdom prevails. There is a point. Mother is the word for Savior. Our salvation is born through life. Our passage consists of contractions, dilation, cooterage, and carrying it through. The passing of another soul helps us understand our own conception. We breathe in liquid anticipation and exhale our declaration as foreigners, and then sometimes forget why we came. The light through the passage is always here. Darkness and tranquility is what we fear. It was what the womb had to offer, the way had to sever, and our bodies had to remember the meaning of Mass. All that's uncoiled through birth gives way for greater things to come. A window of heaven is opened. Tidal waves capture the moment. Empathy and awe embraces the onlookers. Birth is a balance, a taste of life and death. You are the medium, like a ship swaying to and fro, by an uncontrollable force. Happiness follows, and that's where I'll set my course. Last phrase. We dream to remember the dreams we once dreamt. We awake from our slumber to know what's been kept, and locked inside these cells. Chambers of desire that other worlds grow jealous of, as angelic countenance grows. We each detach from one and grow our own tree, within, yet away from life. The roots grown strong and wither away, but wings have ways of opening and closing our eyes when we tend to sleepwalk in the day. Abscission. The light that makes your loveliness shine when you're home makes me bask at its sight like a shrine. You carry it with you unaware while others block its rays. It pulls us together, the eye of the matter, seeing itself recognized, not by one, but the other, and what Life is when it sees itself, swimming in the pools of greed, wasting energy on those whose only ambition is to devour the matter itself. So why do I even share my pain with those who use it for themselves? They'll always be left alone to wonder why their insides keep falling apart, though, and they are the abscission. I think that one was about recognizing that problems or rejection and things like that can happen to you sometimes are somebody else's problems and not your own. This next one's called Twin Flames. Contingent shells wanting to prelapse and prolapse and ellipse my own birth, pass through the solar eclipse, new moon, and perfect the 8th month cycle. Demanding attention, absorbing my ingestions, congesting in a concurrent episode that never stops writing itself. It's been pre-written, rewritten, past judged. I am the vessel that needs to carry through the sentence, manipulate the presence of grandeur, and split it in two. The face that created them looks like an angel to me. Can it justify our actions or speak beyond the grave? Am I to be the only strong arm in this situation, the one-armed man who pacified the weakest link and holds 3 universes in his hand? That poem is about a lost spirit that was supposed to be born on Halloween. This one is called Antiscia, Antiscia. It's an astronomical term. These revelations breed inconsistencies in my blood, and my heart skips a beat, for true prophetic wisdom to enter a chamber. For once, and justify what my heart already knows, but closes itself off to. There's murmurs and rumors of wars in every man's heart. Antiscia imposes itself as Kether sometimes, but what we end up reaching for is the illusion, when it should be Cathara, at the top of the tree, but not the kingdom itself. Once we get past Antiscia, we can navigate our souls. I think that one is about realizing the difference between the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of eternal life, and what can be grown on both of those and both sides of those. Opening of the mouth. This one was about magic, rituals. I'm coming out of the heart of magic, still rough around the edges. I left its center and it followed me, and wanted me to look it back in the eye. What a sad enigma it is, escaping the ball of chaos, to hear its final sigh. Gives goodness a pillow to lay back on, so it doesn't have to try so hard anymore. If these words don't seem right, can't fit into the frame, don't portray the picture of what stays the same, is it all in vain? Can I ever break free from the darkness, or harness the reins? And yes, I did. Supernal triad. One glance, transfixiation. One trance, transfiguration. One mold, terrestrial obligation. One bomb, universal obliteration. One thought, a point in space. One triangle, forms a head to anoint. One body, one life to live. One handshake, more life to give. One reaches out to everything else, but is ignored out of focus. The layer hides the liar within, and clothes him with excuses, extractions from the blood. The shadow self lies in darkness, digging through the mud, in hopes of coming to the light of one day, without frying the inner core. I tried to live this shadow self out, and got caught in the middle of my own warfare, without opening the blinds. Tried and tested, tired and blue. Tripped over the birth canal a time or two. Can't find the proper nut and bolt to fit the screw. Cockeyed framework scrambles itself around. The sides were caving in, and the distant echoes and sounds of the wise men and the jinn. Betrayals and woes. Saturn's rigidity has a grip on me, my distant reminders that happiness is fleeting. Its ring of power infuses me in the hours where I am to acquire honesty and dignity, security, respectability. So why do I keep walking around in the circle instead of becoming the eye, watching it walk around itself, holding a ring of power, for my own good to devour, to collide and collapse in your lovely Venus flytrap? Extenuating outside circumstances. Coven. Alpha to Omega Therion. We tie up loose ends, keep the circle going, not broken. Give and receive what heaven sends. Completion. Nothing was as it seemed, though, in the end. Even Magik's power cries out for power. You have to cut the head off in order to end it. For the price of your head, a coven's true centerpiece. We think we have everything, but the joke is on us, transforming our own hells in front of us, paving the way, while we're too busy basking in our own vanity or accomplishments, tasks and tests, tainted souls set our personality up for. Walking quietly through life, yet in the eye of life itself, we're the loudest ones. Wearing sins proudly on our sleeves instead of on our hearts. We think we're wearing respect or acceptance, badges of courage or conviction, but always taking what's real away from us, and it leaves us with needless strife. Left wondering why we're back at square one. We think we're everything, but everything in us is a host, not a servant, but obeying the laws of energy and using us up as we do it. We think we have everything, nothing can touch us, but most find out in the end that is the gain of all the games magicians play to reach nothing. We thought we had found the beginning and the end, but never actually rooted ourselves in the true universe, just its hard copy. And our souls have suffered greatly for what we taught each other to do with them. Once we overcame our own walls and jumped them, we were expected to sell our souls and weave them into the craft, eventually asking Creator to pull us out like a drowned cat. Everything means something. You never knew what you wanted, never saw how you felt. How could we be eye to eye when my thoughts you stole and dealt? You were stuck in the middle where I wanted to go, standing on your cross, with winds of uncertainty blowing on your face. We once knew who each other was, now time's different and defines our touch. Things change and move around so much. The meaning, why can't two people ever find it? Two is more mind than one. So near, so far, there it goes, to be caught in arrears. Guess we'll figure it out next year. Your purpose can be right in front of you, and yet you pass it by or blame someone for stepping on it or just brush it off, like a monkey on your shoulder that'll be there forever if you don't take it off. When the world is keeling over, my support to you will stay, and if you think I'm the strange one, then after a while you'll see that my strangeness was a blessing, and a piece of your own mind, my friend. Touché. Jailbreak. Your crime is time, and screwing with morality, rules that someone made up. We each have an internal clock and dialogue for what is right and wrong. I always feel the stakes are high with everything I do. I always seem to want to cry when I feel myself becoming anew. Like a bottle of poison in my throat, waiting to wreak havoc on the rest of myself. If I swallow the splinters, will the medicine go down smoother? Or if I let it explode, would the glass be a mind soother? The womb. The womb is wide open. Sam Hain entered in. A mage slips through me, a black thorn in my side, taking over my body. I couldn't help but love him, ambivalently. An angel of death passed us by, and in a raven's lullaby I heard her softly sigh and embraced him. These next three are from a friend of mine that is deceased. The first one's called One from an Old Man. God's strong, convicting conviction. How do you like that? Silent defiance is leaking out. That's how I like it. I'll just wait for you to turn to me and speak the sweet phrase, let us take a walk and not look back. Reality on Reverse. Countenance is shaken. It gives us higher reason, and commenceth the time when it comes to be grounded, and the crimes are lessened. I think this one is about suicide. Sick of scared people, the world would lock their doors and never come out. How may something eternal be bound? Bah humbug. I can't seem to grow old. My weariness turns to anger. Anger to manifest. Let's just start over again. More bastard hymns. The tree is falling. Reflections of a different quill. We are. That is law. We are. How about some intent in this place? I did not ask, nor is it in my bones, turning, moving. We are, and it is free. I gave you 5 senses, creation of my explosion. Listen. Shouting at demons. Shouting back at demons. Every day, won't you help me slay the world? I knew me too, what a waste. I wish to force not. Why is it so clear to me, a world of hell? My love keeps me strong, a throne to the most beautiful thing I can envision, my birthright. How can you have something that is ours to begin with? I have learned a few words to speak to you as I embrace. Mother says, shh. This essential point in eternity was my pain also. Cycles. Home is where the heart is, where you lay, where creation starts, where you play, a time and place within itself, a trial, a source of all your wealth, a headache, a mind break, a lonely place at times, transitional. You can carry it with you as an exchange token for other serenity, or the broken home that needs healing. A spirit of mediation can help. A functioning home needs energy to curb its deviations, of no throwing a wrench into the works. When things are going well, and be able to pick itself up again after it fell. On top of itself or another's home, we all carry different homes with us. Comforts, joys, pains, or burns that trigger us to either run away from even trying to make better home or not appreciating anything we have. It's something we can't just substitute forever, grab for a false sense of security or acceptance. Home is close to everyone, even if you've never had one. It could be right around the corner. Songbird. Shame is self-hatred, acting like its friend. Dysentery is falling off its face, until the right chord is struck, and the weak feel lucky to be alive in their own song, while a distant drummer lures us out into the snake chamber's basket, and there we lay for a while in mystical awe, waiting for the rest of majesty to show itself. I can't wait to hear that song. The Perfectionist. Excuse me. This next one is called The Name of God. I spoke to you once in a Garden of Eden and felt familial. I choked on my own tears so many times before I was born because I couldn't wait to see the end of joy. This eulogy is confusing, entrapping, and stealing my purpose at times, but the source of the Creator fills me up again and again. I know that it is omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent in all things. When the spirit of sorrow passes through me and lets me taste a little bit more and brings me and my mentality a little closer to eternity, I mustn't continue to act these things out, or I'll miss an interval in the rhapsody of my own inner accord. Where does the abyss go when you come out of it twice? Am I still a failure if I've been baptized with fire, virtue, spirit, water, exercised, and yet still play the joker? I'm stuck in an astral game of poker with the devil. He's holding me by my words and waiting for the bet to unfold. I never will, though. Hi guys, tonight I would like to read one of my first books that I had wrote. I called it Talking Poetry.